Hi everyone, it's Miss Brenner and I'm here with your Science Fiction Online Week 6 agenda. I hope that you're all doing well and staying happy and healthy. I promise I'm going to try and make this a quick agenda video for you. Since we are now in Week 6, I feel like at this point you are probably pretty accustomed to how the agenda videos work and how the grading policy works in this course. So I am going to skip over our grading policy slide and I'm going to go straight into Week 6 expectations. Students will be observing literature through various stylistic lenses to better understand the author's tone and purpose. Students will analyze the themes and motifs within a text and how this shapes a reader's interpretation. Our module objectives are that students will understand the literary terms within the notes for literary lenses, and they will be able to use theme and motif as well as identifying the author's tone using literary lenses. All of that will be covered in our notes for this week. Students will be able to identify stylistic qualities within a text using literary lenses and analyze the author's tone and purpose. Essential questions for this week are: how can the use of literary lenses change our interpretation of a text? Why might an author use tone to persuade a reader's interpretation of a piece of writing? And how does the theme and motif impact our reading? Alrighty. Let's start off with Activity 1. We are going to have literary lens notes, which will be done through Edpuzzle and will be hosted by myself to support your understanding of literature from multiple perspectives. So there are 4 different literary lenses that we are going to cover in our literary lens notes through Edpuzzle. You must watch the 2-part Edpuzzle section first, so there will be literary lens notes part 1 and literary lens notes part 2 through Edpuzzle. You will watch those 2 segments first, and then there are Edpuzzles that are review videos. After you've taken personal notes, so students should take personal notes. You will then go into the different category folders and watch the different Edpuzzles to review the notes that you've taken. So as we go into our Week 6 folder on Schoology, we go into Activity 1. We can see here's Part 1. I still have to upload Part 2 for you. But there's Part 1, Part 2 will be right below it. Then we have our different lens categories, and in each folder for the different categories, you will find the different Edpuzzles that you need to complete in order to cover the notes. I know the notes are extensive, so this will be the majority of this week's activities. So please keep that in mind, that it is a longer portion of this week's activities. Alrighty, back to the agenda. So, now that we've discussed that, let's go on to Activity 2. We are going to start with our first fictional short story for this course. This is going to be The Fairy Handbag, which is by Kelly Link. We have 2 different Edpuzzles for it. We have the Fairy Handbag Audio Part 1 and the Fairy Handbag Audio Part 2. There is a PDF file if following along on a PDF or a printed version helps you to better understand a story. That is an option. There are questions in the Edpuzzles that must be completed in order to receive full credit for the reading portion of the Fairy Handbag. And that would be Activities 2 and Activities 3. So, Activity 2 and 3 are in one folder together on our Schoology page for Week 6. We then move on to Activity 4, which is the Fairy Handbag Discussion and Chart. Students will complete the literary lenses and theme chart for the story The Fairy Handbag, and then students will respond to the prompt in the discussion for the story The Fairy Handbag. Lastly, for this week, we have our silent reading for Activity 5. Students are expected to read for 90 minutes throughout the week. You can break that apart however fits best into your schedule, but you should be reading for 90 minutes total. And our discussion is, would you read another book by this author? Do you have other books by this author that you enjoy reading? And is it that you enjoy reading it due to their writing style? Explaining your reasoning for liking this author, or maybe disliking this author if you've never read anything by this author before. Then you're going to comment on one other student's discussion post about what they are currently reading. That brings our total of points for this week of week 6 to 57 points. It's broken apart into our literary lens notes, which are 5 points, our literary lens examples, so each of the examples in the 4 different folders are 3 points each, making a total of 27 points. The fairy handbag ed puzzle, there are 2 because there's part 1 and part 2, so 5 points each, making it a total of 10. The fairy handbag literary lens and theme chart is 10 points. The fairy handbag discussion is 5 points. The silent reading discussion post is 5 points, bringing a total of 57 points for week 6. Alrighty guys, that is our agenda for this week. I hope that you guys all have a wonderful week. Please feel free to email me. I know some students are still finishing out the CDT testing. If you have not either completed your CDT testing through Zoom or face-to-face, please get in touch with me. I will be contacting by phone and by email to make sure that you are getting your state testing completed. If you have not been contacted by me, that is probably because you do not need to complete the testing because you are either a senior or you are a junior that has already completed the testing. So, if you have any questions though about anything else in the course, please feel free to email me. I hope that you all have a wonderful week and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!